kids of all the time is, you know, as we're talking about you streaming this live around the world, you know, basically to anybody that has a connection to the internet, the world is just so small. I mean, we can probably remember back to tape delay of the Olympics, when it was over on another continent. We're now upset when something takes a second to resolve an IP address to a real domain name, from a real domain name, and be able to display on our screen on our smartphone. So when we think about the instantaneous access to information, now the problem as well, of course, is that the more information you have, you have to learn how to discern through it.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the most interesting things is one of the classic elements of good research is taking a premise and being able to counter it with multiple sources. And you know, one of the things that I think that becomes critical of us to install in our children and into our modern learners is that the information is so readily available, but you can't take it at face value. It doesn't mean it's wrong, but you can't take it at face value, and you've got to make sure you cross-references it with many things, just like anybody's opinion. And
I think too that and I don't think it's an age thing, but I think society is gradually getting to become more, I don't know, maybe it's CNNized, where you put information together as you get it, and you update it and correct it, and by the time you get to the end, yeah, the information and the final picture may look a lot different than when it started, but that's okay, because you are correcting your description as new information is coming in, but you're not afraid to share information until you got the perfect answer. And I think, when I think back to growing up, we often waited until we had the perfect answer before we said anything, whereas today it's, no, this is the answer I've got now. 2 minutes, oh, I've got a different answer now because I just got some more information. And it's like we have accepted this information world where, yeah, what I get now might not be accurate, but it's as accurate as I've got, and that's what I'm going with until I get some new information. And I like that. I like the fact that people are not afraid to share stuff, to start piecing things together. And you see the dynamics in your Facebook groups where all of a sudden someone posts something, and then before you know it, you've got 200 posts. And by the time you get to the end, it's, oh, this is what it finally was? Or if you go back to the beginning, there was a whole lot of miscommunication that wasn't miscommunication, it was people describing exactly what they knew at the time. And I think it's a change in life, a change in pattern that I think it expresses the confidence that kids have today and people have today. Not afraid of making mistakes, they'll correct it.
well, and I think, you know, I think a lot of it is that a lot of the dialogues that were necessarily going on in our heads are now out in the public.
They're out in the public, yeah.
And you know, that has changed things dramatically. And you know, I think that overall, I think people made great decisions based upon that methodology of keeping it in. However, as I indicated, being a great believer in team sports,
Yeah.
and the outcome of it is that I just really believe that the more people you can talk to, the better. And so segueing kind of in, if I may,
Absolutely.
is that Cambrian College is going to begin engaging this academic year in a strategic planning process. And we're asking for the participation of everyone. And so very thematic out of what we've been talking about is that we really believe the collective thoughts of the greater Sudbury community, Cambrian College, the students, the staff, the faculty. We're going to be attempting to talk to you know, people that in 5 years, so let's say grade 9 age kind of thing, grade 8, grade 9, what they think the future will be. And the mantra we're kind of going from is, you know, it's not about creating a better today, it's about the future. And really asking people to think about the times we're in. If you go back to 2009, it becomes quite a reflective thought to all of a sudden say, wow, this is what my life was like, or this is what society was like 5 years ago. And then if you go 10 years ago, you realize that we're really living in exponential times. And so we're going to be looking for you know, a multitude of feedback from different people on what the future should hold for Cambrian. and really being conscious of getting as much dynamic input as possible. And going back to that same thing that I was talking about, you know, the more collective ideas we can get, the more thought processes, and the more that common themes come up. You know, I really believe that that's something that's going to bear us the best and the ripest fruit for the future, if we get all that kind of thoughts going on.
It really is the mandate of a community college, isn't it?
Well, you know, we're here to serve the needs of the greater Sudbury area. And
specifically the needs of the greater Sudbury area.
yeah, and I look at it in a multitude of ways, back to the theme of the world being smaller, is that, you know, the local region, sorry, the local greater Sudbury area, the region as a whole, the province, but also nationally and internationally, we have to, you know, we have to look at, you know, what's our focus. I mean, Cambrian has some great examples of individual students going to foreign countries for applied work placements to get great experiences, and you know, what will that mean in the future? We have international students joining us from other countries as well. I met 4 students today, totally serendipitously, as I don't know if you've walked the halls of Cambrian, but there are a few halls that are dead ends. And so I experienced one of those today, and had to be helped to find my way again, and I happened upon in the international area, and there were 4 students from India who had just arrived 3 days ago, and had a good quick chat, and to realize that boy, that's a lot of change for them. And so, you know, what do we need to do? So I'll give you 3 words just to sort of shout out there that we want people to think about. And it's not all planned yet. I mean, we're still trying to, you know, this is beginning of week 4 for me. So a lot of conversations are happening, trying to bounce ideas, getting feedback, and I always tell people that, you know, if you don't think it's a good idea, tell me, you know, because, you know, then we're going to talk about it, work through it, and if it's really not a good idea, then maybe we shouldn't be doing it. But tell me. And so there's 3 words that we're really trying to work through that we're hoping will thematically help us. And so one is differentiation. So how do we differentiate the Cambrian College experience and what we do? Because the world is getting smaller. The options are much more abound for people for post-secondary education. So why Cambrian? Why come to us? And not just from a local region, but also from away. So I call it the difference between our access agenda. So we want to be accessible for publicly funded post-secondary education in the greater Sudbury region, but also destinationally. So how can we motivate people, you know, if I say competitively, that are right beside another college, but come to us instead.
And that's where the city can help.
Absolutely, and that becomes the recipe. You know, how do we you know, collectively doing that? Very quickly, the other 2, collaboration. We need to partner with. How do we make sure that we're leveraging, whether it be collaborating with other PSEs, businesses, the city, you know, everybody in general. What's that look like, and what's our strategy around it? And then lastly, sustainability. You know, we're stewards of post-secondary education, and we have to be conscious of what we're doing to make sure it's not just in the near future, but it's going to be accessible and sustainable into the future. Because if I go back to what I said in the beginning of the show, I really do believe that education does lead to the solving of the world's ills. And so therefore, I take it very serious what we're doing, and I know my colleagues at other post-secondary education institutions do as well, that you know, what we do will either help or hinder, and I prefer help.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're really going to be integrated into the community before too long with your, if not with your work, definitely with your family, because with 3 kids, you're going to get involved.
Absolutely.
With the community. Yeah, I think the future does look good for Sudbury, and I think everything you're talking about, the collaboration and sustainability, I mean, that's where the city has to work with the school and to differentiate the city of Sudbury and the post-secondary institutions. I think that there is a lot that we can do together to benefit both parties. And then we have to make sure we have places for the kids to live when they come here. You know, the housing.
Well, absolutely, and I think a lot of it is, you know, what I've always seen most, to make sure people understand where everybody's coming from, and it's sort of a coordinated approach towards things, and you're right, I mean, we're attracting oodles and oodles of people from away, but there's a shortage of housing, that's not gonna work.
No.
So, you know, those things all kind of work hand in hand, and you know, I think that just being open and talking about what's going on and letting people know what those things are, and I'm a big believer in the free market system, and that people with good information make good decisions.
Well, I'll tell you, there's 3 people that were running for council in the studio this afternoon, and 100% of them have talked about collaborating with our post-secondary institutions. So I have a feeling you're gonna find very open arms when you wanna meet with the new city council and say, here, we've got 3 words, how do we work here? Because those 3 words apply to the city of Greater Sudbury.
They're just 3 really good words.
Yeah, they can apply to anybody.
Yeah.
But it's really good. No, I'm glad you got a chance to come in, and I hope that we can do this often. And I think being able to communicate the ideas and not only be able to stream, you know, across the internet while we're doing this live, but to have the show recorded and put on YouTube so it can be accessed forever.
Sure.
Means that, you know, the next time and the time after that, they can all be kind of part of a series to help people better understand what the school's all about. Today was more about Build Best, but I think we've learned a lot about education and the purpose of education today. And it's been fun, philosophical.
Well, I think, you know, that's what it's all about, because if you don't know what your true north is and what you're trying to accomplish, it's really easy to sway. But, you know, if you really look at making sure that we have great post-secondary institutions, that they're working collaboratively together, that we're listening to what people's needs are, and we're doing our best to meet them. And, you know, my favorite saying is, you know, we need to listen, we need to make sure we do things what we need to do, but it doesn't mean you have to give people the keys to the city. But you do need to listen and learn.
Yeah.
And, my orientation, and as they say, I'm drinking very heavily from the fire hose right now, trying to get all the information in my head and try to apply it into my background and be able to, at this point, really just ask more questions. It's been fun.
And if you run out of room, you can always get a bigger tanker. So you're fine.
I think people are filling it in from the other end. Yeah.
Ask those grade 9s what they like doing when they were 10.
No, it's a great question. Like I said, you really made me think, and now I'm gonna have to, my father's passed away, my mom still lives in Halifax. When I talk to her, I'll have to ask her, so what do you think I liked doing when I was in grade 10? It'd be interesting to see what she has to say too.
Yeah, fine. Bill Best, President of Cambrian College, thank you for spending some time today, and this is not the last time we will see you, I'm sure. So
Thanks for
being on the Learning Clinic.
Not a problem.
Thank you for listening to the Learning Clinic on CKLU 96.7 FM. This is Bob Kerwin saying we'll see you next week. Love philosophy.
Yeah. You always gotta start from that level, eh?
But it was funny, I talked to a couple of one girl that was going to university. She wanted to go in and work with missions in third world countries.
Yep.
That's interesting. What did you want to be when you were a kid, when you were 10 years old? She said, I always wanted to be a gypsy.
There you go.
I said, see,
Yeah.
you're not made to sit at a desk.
Yeah.
I said, that's your career.
Well, that's kind of like my wife. My wife's a